What if 6 drones could slip past active air defenses and hit Russian planes before anyone could stop them?
At 5 a.m., 6 Beaver UAVs lift off almost simultaneously, separating into 3 pairs along 3 approach vectors. This is not reconnaissance. The moment they cross the detection boundary, Russian air defense radars register 6 stable tracks at approximately 11 to 13 kilometers. Signal quality is clean, speed is consistent. Classification shifts from unknown to hostile in seconds. The northern pair climbs deliberately to around 480 to 520 meters, drawing peak electrical load. Their electromagnetic signature rises sharply, well above baseline noise. The radar operators flag the contacts as priority targets. Fire control systems transition from surveillance to tracking mode. Target solutions are generated. Launch authorization is requested, confirmed, and granted. At 5:01 a.m., the engagement sequence begins. Launcher elevation adjusts. Gyros stabilize. Missile 1 launches. Ignition, rail departure. Boost phase complete. 4 seconds later, Missile 2 follows. Per doctrine, ensuring kill probability above threshold. Both interceptors accelerate past Mach 2, initially guided by ground-based command updates. The engagement envelope is textbook. From the outside, everything appears controlled, methodical, correct. On the operator's displays, the climbing UAVs look exposed. Too high, too loud, too obvious. Exactly the kind of targets the system was designed to defeat. The doctrine is working as written. What the procedure does not account for is what happens next. While the system commits radar time, processing power, and weapons to the northern pair, the remaining 4 UAVs continue forward at low altitude, steady and quiet, slipping through the margins of attention. No alarms, no urgent cues, just background contacts in a system now fully engaged in a formal intercept sequence. By 5:02 a.m., Russian air defense has completed a full engagement cycle. Detection, classification, authorization, and launch. Missiles are in the air. The rules have been followed perfectly. And that is the moment the operation truly begins. If you were the commander watching that launch sequence unfold, would you trust the procedure or question why the targets wanted you to fire so quickly? At 5:03 a.m., the missiles are already airborne. Procedure has been followed. The system believes it is in control. Then the targets do something that makes no sense. The central pair of Beavers, now fully locked by fire control radar, does not turn away. There is no evasive spiral, no terrain-hugging escape. Instead, both UAVs pivot inward and accelerate directly toward the launcher, pushing their motors to maximum output. Speed climbs past 155 kilometers per hour, then higher as they trade altitude for velocity. On the Russian screens, the geometry collapses. The intercept solutions had been calculated for targets moving away, not charging inward. Missiles designed to meet drones at 3 to 4 kilometers now face objects racing toward the battery itself. The guidance computers begin recalculating again and again, each update costing precious milliseconds. At one point, 6 kilometers, alarms begin to sound. Every air defense system has a hard boundary, the minimum engagement distance. Inside it, warheads cannot arm safely. Fuses are locked out by design. No exceptions, no overrides. At approximately 1.1 kilometers, the intercept window collapses completely. The missiles are still flying. One attempts a violent course correction, pulling extreme G-loads far beyond its efficient envelope. Control surfaces strain, stability degrades, telemetry spikes, then fragments. The second missile faces a different problem. It is now on a collision path that would carry it directly over its own launcher. Safety logic intervenes. At roughly 850 meters, both interceptors receive the same command: self-destruct. The explosions bloom harmlessly in the air, close enough for the crew to feel the shockwave, far enough to save the system from destroying itself. The Beavers punch through the invisible barrier, unharmed, electric motors humming steadily as they cross into the space where air defense no longer works. By 5:03, the Russian battery has expended missiles, revealed its safety constraints, and failed to stop targets that chose the one direction no doctrine prepares for, straight at the source. And as the operators scramble to reorient, another problem is forming off their screens, low and silent, moving where radar coverage thins. At 5:05 a.m., the drones are still airborne and the fight has already changed shape. As the air defense crews struggle to recover from the failed intercepts, 3 remaining Beavers slip into a zone no missile system is designed to dominate: procedure space. At low altitude, moving steadily south, they align themselves with an unexpected object: a Russian military transport aircraft beginning its descent toward the airfield. The timing is exact. The geometry is deliberate. The aircraft's transponder is active, broadcasting identity, altitude, and intent. For air defense systems, this creates a hard constraint. Engagement zones compress instantly. Fire control logic redraws invisible boundaries in real time. Any missile launched inside a 5-kilometer safety bubble risks catastrophe, not to the target, but to careers, command chains, and escalation protocols written long before this night. The Beavers tuck in behind the aircraft's approach path, maintaining separation just wide enough to avoid wake turbulence, just close enough to poison every firing solution. From the ground, radar tracks begin to overlap. Safety interlocks engage. Launch permission stall. For nearly 8 minutes, the drones are untouchable. Not because they are hidden, but because they are protected by regulations, liability, and layers of institutional caution. At 5:06 a.m., the aircraft continues its descent. Unaware, it has become a moving shield. The drones peel away at maximum throttle, dropping altitude and accelerating toward the airfield perimeter. Behind them, the protection evaporates instantly. Russian command reacts late, but decisively. A Pantsir S-1 unit is rushed forward, covering the final 2 kilometers. There is no time for full deployment. Stabilizing jacks remain folded. Radar comes online as the vehicle is still rolling to a stop. This is not how air defense is meant to fight. Missiles launch from an unstable platform. One veers off course and self-destructs. A second finds its mark, destroying 2 drones in quick succession. Cannon fire follows, hundreds of rounds tearing through the dawn sky. But accuracy collapses under recoil and vibration. The remaining Beavers pass through the fire, scarred but intact, descending rapidly toward parked aircraft and fuel stores. By 5:07 a.m., the final defensive layer is still firing, still functional, but no longer decisive. The drones are inside the base. At 5:09 a.m., while chaos unfolds near the airfield, the earlier engagement finally reaches its breaking point. High above the terrain, the northern pair of Beavers, written off by Russian crews as bait, executes the second half of the plan. Until now, they have done everything wrong on purpose, climbing too high, radiating too loudly, inviting attention. Now they change everything in less than a second. At approximately 510 meters, both UAVs cut power and drop. Not a glide, a violent plunge. Altitude collapses at over 18 meters per second, converting height into speed. The intercept missiles, already committed and accelerating past Mach 2.3, are forced to react instantly. Guidance computers issue emergency corrections. Control surfaces bite into dense air. G-loads spike beyond 30 G, far outside the envelope these missiles were optimized for. The problem isn't speed, it's perspective. At below 25 meters, the world stops being sky and becomes clutter. Fences, rooftops, wet roads, metal sheds, even shallow puddles begin reflecting radar energy. The missile seekers, designed to isolate clean targets against empty air, are suddenly drowning in returns. Doppler filters struggle to separate movement from background as closure rates exceed what the processors were tuned to resolve. For 10 to 12 seconds, the missiles hunt blindly. Tracking confidence drops. Signal coherence fractures. One missile attempts to reacquire and fails. The second overshoots, dives too steeply, then loses lock entirely. With no validated target and safety thresholds breached, both interceptors execute their final command: self-destruct. Two fireballs bloom harmlessly above the ground, expending millions of dollars in ordnance without touching a single drone. The beavers level out just meters above the surface. Motors re-engaging smoothly. Flight profiles stabilizing as if nothing happened. From the Russian command perspective, the result is baffling. The system worked. The procedures were followed. The missiles flew exactly as programmed. And yet, nothing was destroyed. By 5:10 a.m., it becomes impossible to ignore the pattern. These drones are not lucky. They are not slipping through by chance. They are forcing the defense to fight in regimes it was never designed to handle. Low, cluttered, fast, and unforgiving. And as operators replay the failed intercepts, another realization sets in. What just happened wasn't the main attack. It was the demonstration. At 5:15 a.m., the airspace grows heavier, quieter, more dangerous. The remaining beavers push deeper, and this time they are not facing a hurried battery or a distracted crew. They enter the surveillance envelope of heavier systems, longer range, faster reaction, designed to dominate entire regions of sky. The tracking begins early at nearly 20 kilometers, clean thermal signatures moving steadily south. Missiles launch without ceremony. These interceptors do not climb. They accelerate horizontally, skimming above treetops at Mach 3, carrying their own sensors forward. Each missile becomes a flying extension of the radar network, feeding constant position updates back to its battery. For the drones, there's no warning sweep, just the sudden certainty that they are being hunted. The operators react instantly. Altitude is traded for speed. The beavers dive toward industrial structures, grain silos, concrete towers, long warehouse roofs, anything tall enough to fracture line of sight. One missile follows too aggressively. Its seeker remains locked, but its airframe was never meant to navigate an obstacle course at full speed. It impacts terrain short of the target, erupting into a violent cloud of debris. 5 drones emerge, one does not. A fragment, steel, weighing dozens of kilograms, clips a wing. The UAV tumbles, spirals, and detonates in a field below. The loss is instant, silent, and accepted. There is no pause, no course correction to mourn it. The remaining beavers change behavior. They begin to cross paths, wide, deliberate arcs that cause radar tracks to merge and separate repeatedly. Processing systems attempt to keep up, recalculating identities every 1 to 1.5 seconds. With 4 fast-moving targets swapping positions, the tracking picture degrades into uncertainty. Engagement confidence drops. Launch solutions hesitate. Then the next layer reveals its flaw. 3 drones reduce speed to just under 100 kilometers per hour. To the most powerful radar in the region, targets moving that slowly are filtered as clutter. Birds, weather, noise. Contacts flicker, then vanish, then reappear meters away from where physics says they should be. By 5:35 a.m., the strongest air defense systems are still active, still scanning, still armed. But they are no longer decisive. The drones continue south, not because the defenses are destroyed, but because for brief and costly moments, they are blind. 05:41 a.m. The last layer is already moving, and it is already late. As the surviving beavers accelerate toward the airfield, a Panzer S-1 battery races into position from the north. Distance to cover, just over 2 kilometers. Time available, less than 2 minutes. The vehicle arrives hot, braking hard on uneven ground, crew still inside as the radar powers up. There is no proper deployment, no stabilizing jacks, no calibration cycle. The system goes live while still rocking on its suspension. This is the worst possible way to fight. The radar catches 3 contacts descending through 420 meters, speed climbing past 180 kilometers per hour. Missiles launch immediately. The first interceptor leaves the rail cleanly, then drifts. The unstable platform corrupts guidance data. At roughly 900 meters, the missile self-destructs, harmlessly expending its warhead in empty air. The second missile performs better. It races forward and detonates near the lead UAV, shredding it and a second drone behind it. Debris rains down across the perimeter road. 2 targets destroyed in under 2 seconds. For a moment, it looks like the defense has recovered. Then the cannons open fire. Twin 30mm guns unleash a torrent, hundreds of rounds in under a minute. Tracers clawing through the dawn like burning wire. The firing vehicle shudders violently with each burst. The targeting reticle jumps. Fine tracking is lost. The remaining beavers don't fly through the fire. They bend around it, climbing, dropping, slipping laterally at the last possible second. No hits. At 5:45 a.m., the first surviving beaver enters its terminal dive. Angle, nearly 40 degrees. Speed, over 210 kilometers per hour. The operator holds steady as the target fills the frame. An aircraft parked cold on the tarmac. Fuel lines still connected. Maintenance equipment scattered nearby. Impact. The shaped charge warhead focuses its energy into a jet traveling several kilometers per second, punching through aluminum skin, fuel tanks, and into stored aviation fuel. Fire blooms instantly. A second drone strikes moments later, igniting ammunition and sending secondary detonations rippling across the apron. The Panzer tries to reacquire. It cannot. By 05:46 a.m., the drones are gone. The defenses are still firing. The base is burning. Nothing here failed mechanically. Nothing malfunctioned catastrophically. The system did exactly what it was designed to do, just not what this kind of war demanded. This operation didn't end with a destroyed radar or a silent missile battery. It ended with burning aircraft on the ground, while air defenses were still active, still armed, still following every rule they were built on. Nothing here relied on miracle technology. No stealth coding, no electronic magic, just timing, geometry, and a ruthless understanding of how modern systems fail when forced outside their comfort zone. Every missile that self-destructed, every radar that hesitated, every safety rule that blocked a launch became part of the weapon. That's the real lesson of this story. In modern warfare, the weakest point is rarely steel. It's logic. So now I want to hear from you. If you were the commander that night, which moment would you call the point of no return? Drop your answer in the comments. If this breakdown helped you see modern warfare differently, make sure to subscribe, hit like, and share this story with someone who still thinks air defense guarantees safety.